My name is Charles Cumming. I'm primarily known as a spy novelist of Icarus 17. It's coming out next week. But today I think the idea is that we're trying to give you some sense of what happens when a book is optioned, adapted and filmed, and all of the chaos and the joy that can flow from that. I've had an action movie made starring Gerard Butler, a very good pizza and beer movie called Plane. And I was one of the writers on the Eddie Redmayne Day of the Jackal. But my job today is to talk to Jane Casey, Ruth Ware, and Lucy Clarke. I'm going to start with, because you look as though you've just walked off a movie set in Cairo or Bermuda.
A beach hut in Mudderford, actually, but it was close.
Yeah. But you've had two of your novels adapted, The Castaways and No Escape, both with Paramount Plus. Did you feel that it wouldn't have been a betrayal because you were involved in the writers' room?
I was, yeah. I think for me, I find it just a huge privilege to have your work adapted because you've written the book and that's never going to change. So if someone comes along, a team of creators, and says, hey, we would like to reimagine this in a fresh way, I am there for it. That's the fun part. And yes, I was invited into the writers' room. And for those not familiar with what a writer's room actually is, like myself when I got that call, it's where a team of screenwriters come together with producers, and you get to sort of thrash out what is going to happen, how your book will change into a script. And it's so different to how you work as an author, which for me is just a solitary thing. I work on my own. I don't see anyone all day. When I hit a problem and I will be the one to work it out. But in a writer's room, you've got, when I was in the first one I went to, there's probably 8 of us around a table, and everyone's just so verbal, thrashing ideas out. And for me, when I do my best thinking, I actually do my best thinking with a pen in my hand, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to just come up with good stuff. It takes me ages, these guys were fantastic. So I'd say the first couple of days in the writer's room, I was pretty quiet. I was just doing a lot of watching, a lot of learning. And then as is life, you begin to realise, perhaps they don't know too much more than maybe I know. And I found my voice and I loved it. I learned so much. It was a really exciting experience being in the writer's room.
Writers' rooms can be tricky because we're all used to working at beach huts or sheds or wherever we write. And we're communing with our own imagination. We don't get out much. This is the most I've spoken all week. But if you're in a writer's room, you have the showrunner, who is sort of the person with overall creative control of the piece, and that's handed to him or her by the producers, really.
Yeah.
And they may have a different take on your story and may want to have ownership of that story, and then the director comes along and they have their own take, and quite often the writer of origin can become a problematic figure. But it sounds as though that wasn't your experience.
I think I went into it very relaxed about what the outcome would be, and I had given away the idea that it would be the same as the book. So I think if you go in knowing that the end goal isn't to produce the book in an exact form, the end goal is to produce something that will entertain viewers of whatever channel, whether that's a Netflix show or Paramount in my case. And all of those, the head honchos at Netflix and Paramount, they all have a slightly different vision of the kind of shows they want to produce. So when I went into the kind of Paramount world, I knew that there was going to be more thrills and spills than in my book. The heart of my books is always a really emotional beat. And in both of the shows, that's something I had to really fight for and didn't always win, because you are not the priority voice. You've written the book, but actually it's something completely fresh for screen. So I was okay with that, but I do very much understand why some authors don't want their work adapted and they don't want to lose that control, and I think that is okay too. But for me, it was exciting because it's a whole other part of the creative business that I knew nothing about, and I got to have a ringside seat and take part and learn and apply it to how I write my novels now. And so it's always going to be a yes for me with having adaptations.
I think Hemingway had an attitude to having his novels adapted that he went to metaphorically, went to the California state line with his book and then through a megaphone goes, "Throw over the money!" And then Hollywood throws the money across the California state line, and then he throws into the book, and that's all. And it sounds, Ruth, that was a little bit more like your experience. Like, it sounds as though you didn't, you handed over control of the woman in cabin 10.
It's the first time I've been compared to Hemingway, and I'm going to put that on the back of my next book. I'm going to say Charles Cumming, Ruth Ware, very like Hemingway. No, I mean, it wasn't anything as exciting as flinging bags of cash, sadly. But yes, it's so interesting because I had a completely different experience with The Woman in Cabin 10. It was optioned originally by CBS when the book very first came out, which was 2016, and then sort of passed around. CBS stopped doing fiction adaptations. They pivoted completely to kind of documentary. Ended up at Netflix, and just sort of, I don't think it ever quite went into development hell, but it sort of just languished for a bit. There was a lot of kind of changes at Netflix, and I'd sort of given up hope of it ever being adapted. I was quite happy to continue cashing these option checks, because one of the amazing things about having a book optioned is that there is a time limit on it, and if the clock ticks down, they have to pay you again. So actually, there's a lot to be said for having a book take a very long time to get to fruition, because you get to keep taking those checks. And I think partly because it had only been my second book when I had sold it, and partly because of this very sort of long path to the screen. I wasn't involved at all really from the start.
Did you want to be? Did they ask you to be? Or you just said
no? Nobody ever asked me. Since then, I will say a lot of the other option things that have come my way. There's been much more sort of consultation of how much would you like to be involved, and do you want to, and I had always said I don't want to be involved, partly because I think, as you were saying, that a book is a very different thing to a TV series or a film. The Woman in Cabin 10 was made into a film. And the process of sort of squashing a book with all its messiness and complexity and backstory and interiority down into a film which has to, of necessity, be much tighter, much pacier, much more external, because your own, you, the viewer, are witnessing these events alongside the characters. And so much of The Woman in Cabin 10 is about the reader never being completely sure what my characters have seen. It's narrated by a woman who's sleep deprived and occasionally has had too much wine, and the people she's with don't believe her for various reasons, and I very much wanted the reader to be complicit in that, to have doubts of their own, and that is much harder to pull off on screen because you, the viewer, have seen what the character sees, so you can make up your own mind about it. So I wasn't sure how I would pull that off, and I was quite happy to hand it over and let someone else solve that quite difficult
Did you have
conundrum.
conversations with the screenwriter, or she
No,
just...
I literally... So it actually was to the extent where I had decided about 3 years ago to write a sequel to The Woman in Cabin 10 called The Woman in Suite 11, and this was while the book was still under option. And I was about a third of the way through writing The Woman in Suite 11 when I learned that Cabin 10 had been greenlit. And at that point, I saw the script, and there were some quite major changes to the end. I sort of had this nervous breakdown where I was like, oh no, how am I going to make these kind of two very different worlds knit up? And eventually, exactly, as you said, you accept that the book is the book and the film is the film, and they are cousins, but not necessarily exactly identical.
I think Rambo dies in the novel of First Blood, but they kept him alive.
It wasn't quite that extreme, thankfully. Killing off the main character would have left me with considerably greater difficulties. But yeah, I literally had no idea at all what they had done to it until I read the script, and they had very elegantly solved some of the things that I was very concerned about if I had adapted it, and they've made some other decisions which I could completely see why they'd change things to make it more filmic, more cinematic. But yeah, it was a delightful surprise to me as much as to the audience and the readers, I think.
Jane, they changed your ending in The Killing Kind, ITV, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like you're suing them.
I haven't got over it, actually, because I put in a lot of work on that ending, and I really thought about it for a long time, and they threw it away. My beautiful ending. I wasn't allowed in the writer's room for mine.
Did you try to get, were you like
Well-
scratching at the door like a little cat?
It's because I'm afflicted with resting bitch face. And so when people were talking about their ideas, I was just listening, but I was listening like... So it was better I wasn't there, I think. But I was an executive producer. And actually, executive producer is a really interesting thing. It's what they give to authors to make them shut up. Because
I think I was executive producer on Cabin 10. I'm feeling very called out at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a way of placating you, basically, because they pay you for your opinions, but actually they don't want your opinions, and your emails go into a little hole. And it's fine. And then your name is in the credits, and you get a little kind of, ooh. And that's what happens.
Did you go on set? Did you meet the actors, the director?
I did. I had the experience of...
With your resting bitchy face?
With my resting... They had a... I turned up, and I actually heard someone saying into a walkie-talkie, writer on set, which I was like, oh, that's so exciting. And then I realised it was a warning to everyone. And they had a chair. They had gone out and got a chair, and they said, the producer, who's basically in charge, the showrunner, basically, she came over to me. She's quite an intimidating woman. And she said, sit there, don't move. And I just sat on my chair and watched. They were filming a kind of a scene where somebody was saying to a group of people that someone they knew had died. So that was the kind of setup. And all the extras were acting their little socks off. And I was watching it all on the monitor. And it was fascinating, but it made me realise, like, I could never work in TV. It was so stressful. I was so scared I was going to kick something over or make a noise, sneeze at the wrong moment.
It's also, it's astonishingly slow, at least that's been my experience, that you're let's say that a director is shooting this panel, it would take, I think, probably about 5 or 6 hours to do 2 setups, because they would film a kind of a wide shot and then close-ups, and the lighting has to change, people have to have a break. It's like the World Cup stop for hydration. And everything takes, it's snail slow. Whereas for us in our day jobs, you can whisk along, and if you feel like writing 2,000 words, that's a good day for me, then there's nothing to stop you.
But also you can blow stuff up very easily with just a few
very
little
cheaply.
words.
No budget for us. We don't
So
have
cheap.
to. Yeah.
But if you put that into a book, I discovered, then they actually have to set fire to something.
Yeah.
So the day that I was there, they were filming a fire in a room, but they had built the room outside the place where they were filming, just in case they couldn't control the fire. I was like, do we have to do this? I could just quickly rewrite it, you know.
Can I just tell you the thing that I felt most guilty about with the woman in Cabin 10, because it's strikingly similar but also totally different, is I have a character shave her head, and they made the actress shave her head, and I felt so awful. And they put it in the contract and everything that she had to do it, and she's incredibly beautiful and had this amazing hair. And I just remember meeting her at the wrap party and just being like, I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I hope they left her in the show. She wasn't on the cutting room
Oh no,
floor.
thankfully, she did make it all the way through. And she looked incredible with a pixie cut. But it was that thing of,
What have I done?
it was one line in the
line,
book.
yeah,
And then
think
some
about it.
poor woman's there with a razor and a buzz cut.
Lucy, have you had a sort of Hitchcockian cameo in anything? Have you appeared?
Yeah, I did actually. The first one that I went out to set for was shot in Thailand, and which was a very nice destination to go in. It was mid-COVID, so it all felt particularly exciting to, be invited onto set. And I took my family, actually, we all went for a couple of weeks. This is for a book called No Escape, and it's set on a lovely yacht that sails around the Philippines, but quite often when you shoot for TV and film, you actually shoot in a different location because of tax credits. So this was in Thailand, And yeah, there was a scene, a full moon party, a big beach party scene with like 100 extras. And I remember I'd been on set a couple of days before and I got to know everyone, and the director was just like, do you want in on that? And I was like, yeah, I do. Let's go. So I thought, I was like, well, this will be really fun and exciting. And then I was taken off to costume. And what I hadn't appreciated, because of course you think you are 18 still, that I was 20 years older than all of the extras. So I went to the costume trailer and they were handing me like sequin bikinis for the full moon party. And I was just like, oh, that's a different vibe to what I was thinking. So I kind of found the most modest thing that they had there. And then I had, neon makeup on and partied on the beach. And it was really fun. And we were pretending we were drinking, like Filipino beers, but they have a little sort of cling film bit over the mouth. So you're, just kind of like sipping away fake beers on the beach. And it was great fun, and I did enjoy it, and I ended up having about a half a second shot of my back in the scene, so yeah. I get a lot of follow-up from that, but it was good fun.
Have either of you had cameos? Did you
do it?
I did a cameo, and then they cut it. They were at great pains to tell me it was nothing to do with me. It was set at a scene that takes place at Lowe's flat. And then they just ended up losing the entire scene. But I still think it was probably me.
I know I'm going to shock everyone when I say this. They did not want the resting bitch face. So they didn't even suggest it, which now I'm thinking, like, they really didn't like that. Mine was filmed in Bristol, which is a very different vibe to Thailand. And again, I'm questioning my choices. Should really start writing destination thrillers.
Mine was filmed in Poole, a lot of it, and Scotland. Yeah.
Was it?
So yeah, the yacht was off the coast of Southampton.
Did you get to hang with Keira Knightley?
I met her, and I did get to go on the super yacht, which was a really amazing experience, mainly because I, to this day, have never been on even a cruise, let alone a super yacht. And when I went on the real one, I was like, Ruth, you nailed it. I just felt so proud of myself for getting it right, never having set foot on a place. It was exactly as I'd imagined it. So I was like, yes.
Did you get to go on?
Yeah, tell us about your cameo, Charles.
Perform? Did you do a cameo?
I didn't go on the plane set because it was COVID. And it was in Costa Rica. And it was also 90% humidity, and it would have been
setting our
horrendous.
books in the wrong places, Jane. We really are. Costa Rica, Thailand, Philippines.
I've let myself
they just didn't want me there because there was the writer-director, and so that was the excuse, COVID. I'd have to get a whole visa and the whole thing.
Not your resting bitch face.
No, it wasn't that so much. My favourite cameo story is Robin Lane Fox was approached by Oliver Stone when he was filming Alexander, his biopic of Alexander the Great. And Robin Lane Fox is a sort of world authority on this period. And he gave him a huge amount of information. And Oliver Stone said, listen, I have to pay you. I mean, we should get some sort of contract together. He said, no, I don't want to be paid. But when you do the cavalry charge at whatever it is, Mesopotamia or whatever, I want to be at the front on the main horse in the middle, next to Colin Farrell.
Wow.
And so the guy, the quite sort of overweight, middle-aged white guy in Alexander charging forward with Colin Farrell is Robin Lane Fox.
I'm amazed they got the insurance sign-off on that. You'd think it would be too.
I'd say he signed the waiver to end all waivers.
Yeah.
If I get mown down by someone.
So if you don't mind, it's a sort of plot spoiler, but how did they change your ending? I just want to know.
Well, it was that there's a word that they use in TV, which is returnability.
Yes.
And if you ever hear that word in a meeting, run. It just means basically they don't want to give it a proper ending in case it becomes a big hit and then they can make season 2. Surprise, we signed everyone up for 2 years. It is not a great way to tell a story, I think. I would rather have an ending. And then come up, we're creative. Come up with a way to get back into the story if you suddenly discover it's a huge hit. But
Have them in the shower saying it was all a dream.
Yeah, that works. That works. So yes, it was basically that. They wanted to leave it kind of open-ended, and they did it in the most cliched, boring way. And I just, at that stage, it was like the end of filming, and I was just like, it's fine. do what you want.
But when it was broadcast, do you feel that you were right, or did you secretly think, actually, this is quite good and it works?
I'm always right.
I can absolutely see why they didn't want you in the right as well.
This is why I work alone.
When Cabin 10 was coming out, and I hadn't seen the film at this point, and I said to my friend, I'm going to the premiere, and I'm really nervous because what if I don't like it? She was like, the thing is, Ruth, it'll be fine either way, because if it's really good, you can just be like, it's really good because the book's awesome, and if it's not, everyone will just be like, well, the book was better. So,
Yes.
and luckily it was fine, and I was able to go up to everyone and say it was really good.
Yeah.
I came out of the premiere of Plane. I was in New York. It was quite glamorous, and I was walking out with the director, this French guy, and I'd been really pleasantly surprised. It was a very good film for what it was. And I said to him, congratulations, Jean-Luc. And this woman came up to him and she said, I just thought it was just really terrific, Jean-Luc, many congratulations. And I was sort of waiting for him to say, well, this guy came up with the whole story. But he didn't, and they just carried on chatting. And then she came up to me, she said, could you take a photo?
Oh, no!
So I just took a picture with the director. Anyway.
You should have taken a picture of your own face.
You should have, yeah. I should have selfied. Yeah.
Surprise.
But that's the rung where the writer exists. Anyway, it's been really interesting to talk to you guys, and we've run out of time. But thank you for
Come and mingle with us later.
Yeah.